Welcome to Arsenalen, the Swedish Tank Museum, and today we're going to talk about this vehicle, the Jagdpanzer 38. I will tell you a bit about the history, and we will look at a few interesting details on this vehicle. Before and during the Second World War, Sweden had a quite advanced industry for producing their own tanks and armored vehicles. Some of them were quite interesting and state-of-the-art at the time, but Sweden didn't have the capacity to produce as many and develop as many as other countries did. After the Second World War, Sweden went out in Europe and collected a lot of vehicles in order to study. Most of them were former German vehicles, but there were also British and American ones. Sadly, most of these vehicles, they were used for different tests with the result of using them as targets at the end. So many of them, they just gone. And this one is one of the few survivors. It's the Jagdpanzer 38, Jagdpanzer 38, or Hetzer as it's more known to the general public. The interesting thing about this vehicle is that it's a genuine wartime production vehicle and not, as you find in many museums today, a post-war production vehicle that has been rebuilt with fake German markings to look like something it never was. In the collection, we also have one post-war production, the G13, that was made for Switzerland. Still in original Swiss markings, and I promise you that G13 will never ever be converted into look like a fake German vehicle, that's for sure. But this one is a genuine wartime production. It was built by Böhmische Mährische Maschinenfabrik in Prague in August 1944, and it's an early type. It's one of the first built, and you can see that on the special gun mantlet on the front, that it's an early type production. This vehicle was found in Denmark in 1945, and as far as we know, there were only 2 Hetzers used by the German forces in Denmark during the Second World War. Both these vehicles belonged to Panzerabteilung 1033 in Reading, and they were both part of the 233rd Panzer Division. We have no idea today why only 2 Hetzers were used and not more, or even none of them. So that's something we have to dig into. At the end of the war, Sweden wanted to have a few vehicles to study, so Swedish agents went to Denmark and they found a few vehicles that they were interested in. But since British forces had said that no German vehicles was allowed to leave Denmark, they were all intended to be scrapped and destroyed. The Swedish agents had to talk to people in Denmark, and they made some sort of an arrangement. So a few of these vehicles that they had found, they were loaded onto trains and brought to Sweden, but that was kept secret from the British forces since it was not allowed. When this and the other vehicles from Denmark arrived to Sweden, they were given military registration numbers, and we're not sure, but that could be a reason to sort of cover up where they actually came from. Other vehicles that were collected later and more openly came to Sweden, they were not given Swedish registration numbers, so we're not really sure why they did this to these. And this vehicle got the registration 8303. So this 303 is actually the Swedish registration that was painted after the Second World War, and so it's not part of the German markings that could have been on the vehicle. In the early 1970s, this vehicle was restored in order to be able to show it in the museum at the time. and it was painted in a sort of dunkelgelb color, even if it's not as it should be, and you can still find traces of the original color on parts of the vehicle. If there were any markings on the vehicle or under the paint, we do not know, so we have to do that as a task in the future to find out, could there be something to find that could reveal part of the history. And we have also, during the last few years, had people to help digging into the archives, looking for information, details, whatever that could tell a little bit more about this vehicle, where it came from, how it ended up in Sweden, and most importantly, what happened before it ended up in Denmark. So that's also something that we would like to dig into more and find out something about the vehicle history. When the vehicle was restored, some parts were missing. They had gone missing during the years it had been used in the Swedish Army, and the side skirts, they are not original, and for some reason they put a Swedish periscope on top of the vehicle and a headlight that was not supposed to be there, probably to make the vehicle look a bit good, even if it's not original. So that's also something we have to change to be more like it should be in original. Surprisingly, this vehicle is quite complete, and on the inside it's very complete, and it still has its original color on the inside. I will show you how it looks on the inside. We don't know that much about the history of the vehicle, and if you have any information that could help us in the right direction, please contact the museum and tell us what you know or what you might be able to help with to dig out more about the history of this particular vehicle. When I restored this vehicle in the early 1970s, the paint job was not done perfectly, and you can see traces of the original color in many places on the vehicle. When the vehicle was used by the Swedish Army, they wanted to have a better view for the driver. And this vehicle was used as a tow vehicle for targets during gun practice, so they cut open a hole for the driver to have a better view. And this is the armor plate, and that's what they welded in when they restored the vehicle. This is the inside of the Jagdpanzer 38, a pretty cramped vehicle with 3 men in a row on this side and not much space for the loader on the other side. And it's, apart from a few boxes and racks missing, it's quite complete. And on the driver's side you can see that where the hatch was cut open for the driver, they had to move the instruments to the left side, so that's not the original position. Original color, well, not too bad. Would it be possible to restore this to a running vehicle? Yes, of course it would, but we have a few other projects that might have a bit higher priority at the moment. So in the meantime, we will have to enjoy one of the few surviving original Jagdpanzer 38 that's still around. If you like our YouTube channel, please subscribe, and why not hit the like button, and see you next time.